Prince Zuko, the boy who chased honor and fought himself. Avatar: The Last Airbender gave us many powerful characters, but none are as human, as broken, and as redeemed as Prince Zuko. This is not the story of a villain, this is a story of a boy who was never taught how to be loved and only how to be useful.
How I grow, Mario Fresco, feel that sound. Heart of a lion, spirit.
So, Zuko's personality, well, he is at his core angry but deeply sensitive, obsessed with honor yet unsure what honor truly means, loyalty to a fault, haunted by shame, desperate to belong. He doesn't crave power, he craves approval, and that makes all the difference. So, born a prince, raised in fear, Zuko was born the crowned prince of the Fire Nation, son of the Fire Lord Ozai. From childhood, he was told one thing: strength is worth, weakness is a shame. But Zuko was not like his sister Azula. He was compassionate, he questioned cruelty, and in a nation built on domination, that was a flaw. The one person who truly loved him was his mother, Ursa, and she vanished from his life without explanation. From that moment on, Zuko learned a dangerous lesson. Love disappears, approval must be earned. At just 13 years old, Zuko spoke out of turn. During a war meeting, he questioned the sacrifice of soldiers. For this disrespect, his father challenged him to an Agni Kai. And Zuko refused to fight. Ozai burned his face anyway. Then came the exile. Return only when you capture the Avatar. An impossible task, a lifelong punishment disguised as hope.
You will find, capture, and bring me the Avatar.
So Zuko spent years chasing the Avatar across the world, not because he hated the Avatar, but because he believed, if I succeed, my father will love me again. And this is crucial. Zuko's anger isn't evil, it is grief wearing an armor.
Elsa's tried to force on you.
And beside Zuko stood Uncle Iroh, a general turned tea-drinking philosopher, which everyone's favorite, including mine. Iroh never forced Zuko to change. He only asked questions like, is this what you want or what you were told to want? Zuko wasn't ready to hear that yet.
You must never give in to despair. Allow yourself to slip down that road and you surrender to your lowest instincts. In the darkest times, hope is something you give yourself. That is the meaning of inner strength.
The turning point. Well, eventually Zuko does help to defeat the Avatar, and he welcomed home as a hero. He gets his title, his father's approval, everything he ever wanted. And yet, he is miserable. Because for the first time, Zuko realized what he wanted was wrong. His honor was built on someone else's cruelty. So Zuko becomes sick, physically and spiritually. This is not random, it's the body rejecting a lie. He wonders, he reflects, he helps people without titles, without rewards. And slowly, painfully, he asks the most dangerous question of all. Who am I if I stop chasing approval?
I'm going to join the Avatar, and I'm going to help him defeat you.
So Zuko makes the bravest choice in the entire series. He walks away from his father, from power, from comfort, and he joins the Avatar, the very person he once hunted. Not as a hero, not yet, but as a man who finally chose truth over pride. So the true meaning of fire. Zuko learns that fire is not rage. Fire is life, warmth, and balance. When he stops fighting himself, his firebending changes. He becomes calmer, stronger, and clearer.
I understand.
At the end,
And begin a new era.
Zuko becomes the Fire Lord. But because he understood suffering, he rules not through fear, but through accountability. And that's the real honor. So why Zuko's story matters? Zuko teaches us that you can be raised wrong and still choose right. Anger often hides pain. Approval is not the same as worth. Redemption is about perfection. It's about responsibility. Zuko didn't become good because he was forgiven. He became good because he took ownership. So now we go back to the Bible. the man who wrestled with identity. Book of Genesis tells the story of Jacob, a man who spent most of his life chasing a blessing that was never meant to be stolen, only understood. This is not a story of a hero. This is a story of a man who ran from who he was until he could no longer run. So Jacob is clever but insecure, strategic but fearful, hungry for blessing, obsessed with identity, afraid of rejection. So like Zuko, Jacob doesn't trust that he's enough as he is, so he takes. So when Jacob was born, second, grasping his brother Esau's heel, from birth he lived with a quiet fear. I am not the chosen one. Esau was strong, Jacob was subtle. And in a world that honored strength, Jacob believed, if I don't secure blessing, I will be nothing. Sounds familiar? So Jacob deceived his blind father Isaac. He steals the blessing meant for Esau, and for a moment Jacob gets what he always wanted: status, promise, validation. But the cost is exile. Esau wants him dead, so Jacob runs, just like Zuko. Jacob spends 20 years in exile, no crown, no inheritance, no approval, only survival. He builds wealth, he builds family, but he never builds peace, because stolen identity always decays. So the night everything changes, Jacob hears Esau coming within 400 men. Judgment is approaching. That night Jacob is alone, and then he wrestles with a mysterious man all night, no winner, no escape. This is not a physical fight. This is Jacob fighting his fear, his past, his lies, himself. The wound that becomes a mark. The man touches Jacob's hip. It dislocated. Jacob is wounded permanently, and yet he refused to let go. I will not let you go unless you bless me. For the first time in his life, Jacob doesn't steal the blessing he asked. The man says, your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have wrestled with God and lived. Jacob doesn't win by strength, he wins by surrender. Like Zuko, learning fire is not rage. Jacob learns blessing is not domination. Facing the past, the day Jacob meets Esau, and something shocking happens. Esau forgives him. The fear that haunted Jacob for decades dissolves in a moment, because Jacob finally faced the truth and became someone new. So why Jacob and Zuko's true biblical mirror? Prince Zuko chased honor, Jacob chased blessing. Exiled from home, same thing with Jacob fled his home. Prince Zuko haunted by father's approval, and Jacob was haunted by father's blessing. Prince Zuko scarred by fire, and Jacob was wounded at the hip. And lastly, Prince Zuko found a true identity, and Jacob renamed Israel. Neither became whole by conquering. They became whole by confronting themselves. So the core wisdom here is, you don't find yourself by winning battles, you find yourself by surviving the wrestle. So the wisdom from Jacob and Prince Zuko is that chasing approval will cost you your peace. Zuko, he believes, if my father approves of me, I will finally have honor. Even when he succeeds, he feels empty and restless. Jacob, he believes, if I secure the blessing, I will finally matter. After stealing it, he lives decades in fear and exile. So the biblical anchor, what good it is for someone to gain the whole world yet forfeit their soul. Matthew 16:26. So the core truth is, approval is external, peace is internal. When you focus the two, you lose both. And how to implement it in your life? Well, identify one approval big source. Identify one approval source you are still chasing. Parent, boss, audience, number, money. Ask yourself weekly, if this person disappeared tomorrow, would I still respect my choice? Practice making one decision per week based on values, not validation. So an example, you post content or work not for likes, but because it aligns with your long-term identity. And the second wisdom, you don't heal by running, you heal by wrestling. So Zuko runs from his pain through anger, obsession, and constant motion, only begins to heal when he stops and asks, who am I really? And Jacob runs for 20 years from Esau, from guilt, from fear. Healing begins the night he is forced to wrestle alone in the dark. So we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against spiritually forces. Ephesians 6:12. The core truth is avoidance delays healing. Confrontation transforms it. How to implement this in life? Well, schedule intentional solitude. No phone, no noise. Just once a week, write down what you are angry about, what you are afraid of, what you are avoiding. Don't solve it immediately, name it first. So an example, instead of overworking or distracting yourself, you sit with discomfort long enough to understand it. And the last wisdom, your wounds can become your authority. So Zuko's scar is a mark of shame, but later becomes proof that he understands suffering. That suffering makes him a better leader than those who were never wounded. And Jacob walks with a limp for the rest of his life. And that limp becomes the sign he encountered God and survived. So my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. So core truth is your pain does not disqualify you. Unprocessed pain does. How to implement this in real life? Well, stop hiding one past failure or wound that shaped you. Ask, who could I help because I went through this? Reframe your story from, this ruined me, to, this prepared me. So an example, you don't pretend you're flawless. You become trustworthy because you are honest. So a summary is, approval doesn't heal identity, avoidance delays growth, and wounds can become wisdom. And this was it for this video. Thank you everyone for watching, and always remember, before you can face the world, take the courage to face your inner demon, and before you can love someone else, learn to love yourself. Have a good one.
Game on the screen, faith in the flow, soul in the beat, that's how I grow. Warrior fresco, feel that sound. Heart of a lion, spirit profound. From the street to the scrolls, I blend it all. Modern, so divine, call love.